Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are looking at the Tea House mod, which is being made by user Zorkaz. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is the ability to create, sell, and use a variety of teas. And I love this mod, as not only am I a tea lover myself, so having some delicious tea in the game would be great, but they do offer genuinely interesting buffs to your character, or as mentioned, can be sold. And sort of the idea of this mod, and apparently several others that Zorkaz has made that I hadn't seen until today, to offer sort of crafting professions in the game for anyone who's more of a pacifist character but still wants to make money. You can make it as, in this case, a tea vendor, and I like that idea. So let's take a look at what all we do get. So let's head into the workshop, and the first thing we're gonna need to do is actually build one of these fellas over here, a tea station. And to do that, we simply go over to the crafting category, where you'll find the tea station for just a little bit of ceramic, copper, steel, and wood, and you'll be able to make all the tea you need. Now that's not all we get though, as we do have some decorative items. So if we go into decoration and then down to miscellaneous, we have our first item here, clutter. Clutter specifically made to go on a bookshelf, or, you know, anything else you can fit it on. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, but as you can clearly see, we can just place it in the world and have them all floating magically, which, may go perfectly well with one of the teas. You'll see about that in a moment. And then if we continue on, we have a few more items over here. The first being a set of tea bags in a small box, another set of tea bags in a small box, and another. Basically, each one's just a different color. We have red, green, and white. And then similarly, we have larger boxes of tea with that color, and that color. And then we have a lovely sign for you to place on the floor of your new tea shop, and a sign for a wall, again displaying tea. And that's what we got there. Now we're actually going to go take a look at the decorative items first, because there's a couple of bugs I want to talk about. And if we turn around, you'll kind of notice the floating thing again. But I should mention, this mod was released on December 30th, and I am recording this on December 30th. So I am looking at the first version of this mod. So by the time you guys see this, these bugs could very well be fixed, and I hope they are. But for the time being, we got a couple. Now, the first one is in regards to this clutter. Now, as I said, it's meant to go onto a bookshelf, such as this one. As you can see, they all line up on the shelves quite nicely. But this is less of a bug and more of to point out that unless you have the Place Everywhere mod installed, oh, it ain't gonna fit on that shelf, because there's just ever so slightly too much overlap. Now, a lot of you out there probably have Place Everywhere installed. It's pretty common, but for me, I always look at these mod videos with just what's required for the mod, so that's why I don't have it installed. But yeah, so if you don't have Place Everywhere, your really only option is to place it floating in the world, which, I mean, you can easily create all that clutter with other items. Which brings me to my next problem, the boxes. The small bags of tea and the larger boxes of tea cannot be stacked. I've tried everything I can imagine, from just, you know, casually placing it over to holding down E and moving things up and down and around, and no matter what, I can't seem to place them on shelves or tables, or even stacking on top of other items. They only seem to want to fit right there on the ground wherever I place them. And honestly, not even too close. I mean, look at that. We can't even get that close to the other bags of tea, which is a little bit awkward. Again, hopefully this is fixed, which you may be wondering then, how do I have all these tea bags up on the table? Well, that's because these these are the individual aid items from my Pip-Boy. All 10 of the teas which you can create. Some of which are actually duplicates of one another, which may be another bug potentially. But still, we have 10 bags of tea, and all you had to do was drop it out of your Pip-Boy and then pick it up in the workshop mode, and it works just fine for moving onto tables, floors, stacking on top of other items, etc. So until these are fixed, you can easily get around it by just placing the individual actual crafted items. Now on to the crafting, let's head out of workshop mode and turn right back around to our tea station. And in here, we have two different categories, the first being brew tea and the second being grind powders. Now you're going to have to go into grind powders first because this is where you make a lot of your prerequisite materials for the tea itself. And in grind powders we have powdered bloodleaf, brain fungus, glowing fungus, hubflower, moot fruit, silt bean, tarberry, thistle, and tree bark. And once you've made these powdered versions of their main items, we can then go into brew tea to actually make what we need. And we have bitter tea, sour tea, sweet tea, an alternate sweet tea, another bitter tea, red tea, sweet, never mind, super sweet tea, apologize, healthy tea, another super sweet tea, and weird tea, which I think it's my favorite. It's fun. Now, as for the effects on these, the bitter tea will slowly heal you over an hour, but it will lower your charisma because it stinks. So it's gonna be lower charisma for a good hour, which is a long time. The sour tea will raise your endurance for an hour. The sweet tea will make you have more damage resistance. The alternate sweet tea gives you 10 max HP for an hour. The other bitter tea allows you to not feel tired for an hour, so unless you're doing a survival playthrough, that one's really not too important there. We then have the red tea, which will slowly restore your rads over an hour, and as you can see, it's gonna take away a lot of radiation, but again, it's over the course of an hour, so it's gonna be pretty slow. The next is the super sweet tea, giving you more experience over an hour, a nice little handy buff. We then have the healthy tea, which again reduces rads over an hour, which I don't understand why we have the two between that, of the red tea and the healthy tea. But, I mean, again, it could be a glitch, or maybe something that was just overlooked. Once more, this is the first release of the mod, it could be a variety of reasons. We then have the super sweet tea, which again is a duplicate of, well, the other super sweet tea, increasing your experience for an hour. And then finally, the weird tea, which seems like a non-addictive drug, which slows time for 90 seconds. And that's fun. That's fun. I mean, it's not addictive, which is good, again, if you're playing a survival playthrough, and, you know, it'll do the same thing as some of the meds in the game. But yes, those are the different teas. Now, really the only one that would be visually interesting, I guess, is the slow time, but let's take a couple of the teas just for the heck of it, and they, of course, go and live in the aid category, and some of them, it might be hard to remember what they do, because, of course, seeing things like the super sweet tea that helped increase, oh god, was it increase experience? See, even I've forgotten now. It doesn't show that here in the description, just in the crafting description. So some of them, like the super sweet tea, the, which one was another one that I noticed this on earlier? Oh no, I guess it was just the super sweet tea that's not showing up properly in there. Oh yes, and the first bitter tea. There we go. So you'd have to remember those, but otherwise you do see the effect that it will give you. Now I'm gonna have the weird tea because, hey, slow down time. Oh yeah. Oh, and it's not addictive, so yay, have all the slowed down time you need. It's a great, wonderful thing. Now let's also, what the heck, take one of the super sweet. We now feel well rested. There we are, excellent. Now if we go and take that first bitter tea, there we are. I've completely forgot what that does, but let's check our status effects. And in show effects, I always forget where to go for that. It's just on that one. Ah, yes, less tire delay, and then don't need as much sleep. Okay, so that's what the bitter tea was. But yes, a lovely selection of teas, which you can either use personally for their individual buffs, or of course, sell to vendors to make some money. They don't have the highest value in the world, as you can see here from them, ranging from, it looks like, 10 or 15 up to 40? Was that the best? Ah, no, 55 on the healthy tea seems to be the most profitable of them all. So yeah, it's just an interesting mod, and I like the idea of having a profession in the game where you can actually produce goods to then sell rather than, you know, making all your money through murder. So yes, if you'd like to check out this mod for yourself, which I would definitely recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that is going to be it for today. I hope you all have enjoyed and that you do come back for the next episode when, yeah, we might actually be looking at some of the other Zorkaz profession mods, perhaps. That might be interesting. But until then, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.